What was that moment for you when you thought that, supply chain is something that I want to double down on and I want to create a career out of that?
Okay, so I definitely wanted to get into IMC because I was good at quants, but I could not. I got through NITI. And how it is related, because I am production engineer, and we had 2 semesters in management in production engineering, and it was very natural for me to get into operations there, right? And secondly, I have done my 2 years of experience in an automobile company as well. So it gelled very well with me that operations is my core area, and that's the reason that I was trying to tell you, how you can get to know when you interact with people whether sales and marketing is really my forte. May not be. It was not there, right? It might mature at some point of your time, but at that point of a time, and we should take reference of that point of a time, right? And basis that, I decided that yes, let me get into NITI. I heard a lot about NITI in terms of operations and all, so I got into NITI in 99.
Right. Let's talk about your experiences a bit, Sunit, because you have had a massive experience of over 2 decades. You've worked with some amazing FMCG brands in the past as well. What happens with so much of experience is, no matter what challenges you are put into, you always come across as a winner, right? What has that experience been for you? What were the companies that you were part of, and how has that experience transpired you to be the person that you are right now?
Yeah, so I was pretty fortunate to work with the best of the brands. So I started my career with Britannia, then moved into Coca-Cola, then Nestle, then last 10 years I was in Mondelez, which is Astral Cadbury, and then currently I'm in Shell. So I'll give you the reason why I moved to Shell. When I joined Britannia, it was one of the best known FMCG in 1999. There was a Britannia Khao World Cup Jao. So a lot of hype in terms of marketing. So, and I could sense that when I joined that company. And I was really fortunate to get some good exposure of interacting with the top management, because I was a part of SAP team. SAP is SAP, which you will be, as you get into industry, you'll get to know that that is one of the common threads which binds the industry, right? So I got to know the seniors very well. And then at a very early stint, I was given the head of the department role. And that is exactly the challenge which I got very early in the career, and which really helped me to shape to where I am currently. Because to become a head of the department just after 2 years of your first career post-MBA is a good experience. A lot of challenges, a lot of expectation, big team, big stakeholders, right? And when you have senior stakeholders at that young age, you get to know exactly how the organization moves, what are the kind of thoughts, what are the kind of ambitions are there. Then I moved to Coca-Cola, and Coca-Cola was a company where in that time they came up with Thanda Matlab Paanch, and a lot of experimentation was being done here. So that is one company which was into more and more of experimentation. So I learned a lot there in terms of execution as well. Execution is very important as you move ahead. Strategy and execution, right? So I think one of the key elements which I wanted to touch upon is that you can have the best of the strategy, but ultimately if you cannot execute it, it will be of no help. So somehow that is one thing which got into my blood that time. And then I moved to Nestle, and a very good company, process-oriented company. A lot of things I learned about the process. And the last 10 years I was with Mondelez, very good experience. I had some international exposures as well in the Southeast Asian markets, and learned a lot in the last 10 years. But right now, I am pretty glad because, as I told you in the starting, I'm in the company where the real change which is going to happen when you talk about the zero net emissions, right? And you can see like what's happening across the world and such bold programs that we are having. So I am really delighted to change my sector from an FMCG to energy sector in Shell.
Yeah. Right. I would like to know a little bit about, because we have somebody like you who have had so much of experience, right? You have seen how supply chain used to work in the past and what it is right now, right? We have seen disruptions like COVID happening. We have seen disruptions like a war happening, right? And a lot of macroeconomics factor also come in when we talk about supply chain. So how does that affect, what is the situation right now in India per se or globally when it comes to supply chain, and how effective and lucrative it is as a career if somebody is looking towards that?
You can see supply chain as a word being used by Biden, by our Prime Minister as well, right? So you can well understand the importance of supply chain by this, number one. Number two, way back, 20 years back, what supply chain was all about and what it is today, you'll have lot of changes, right? So initial day supply chain, they were the same function of planning, logistics, manufacturing, but in a very haphazard manner. So it was much more about, getting the stocks available at the right stocks at the right time and so on and so forth. There's no digitalization. The warehouses, we used to have godowns. Now if you walk into any warehouse, you'll have 100,000 square feet or a 400,000 square feet warehouses, just like a massive factory, okay? And how do you operate those kind of warehouses? You cannot just operate without technology into that. You have to have all the technology in place, right? Supply chain in those days were just to, make the stocks available and all. But right now, the change is that supply chain is also sitting into the boardrooms, right? Supply chain is now enabling sales, partnering sales to drive the growth of the company. That is the most important thing. It's not a back-end function. It is a kind of a front-end function which is also taking care of the primary sales as well. So as you learn about this primary and secondary sales is basically what you sell to the distributor from your warehouse, right? What you sell, and secondary is from your distributor. So primary is typically sales responsibility in those days, but nowadays, a lot of companies, the primaries are being managed by supply chain. So that is a tectonic shift which has happened. So in terms of, supply chain. Let me talk to you what has happened from 2010 onwards. It's a very interesting thing. 2000 to 2010, it was just like about planning, logistics, and so on and so forth. 2010 onwards, the massive change which was happening was about the advent of technology, right? So much of investment has happened in terms of your last mile deliveries, right? In terms of the big warehouses that you manage, the digitalization that you're having, right? You are having artificial intelligence, machine learning, IoT devices. So all those big things that you have heard, we have implemented, like in Shell as well, in terms of the massive digitalization program that we are having, in terms of your entire value chain, right? From the time you source, produce, and you distribute, right? We are having the entire digitalization process. Today we are having, I can do my stock counting through a drone, or maybe because of safety risk, I cannot just go to that 100-meter up. So there will be a drone which will go there, capture the entire things, and come back and give the results. So that is the power of digitalization, and that is the power of technology. Today, the machines that you are running in the factories, you used to have a preventive maintenance. The guys who are already experienced will be knowing preventive maintenance, right? You will have a schedule and you'll do the maintenance. Today, by virtue of your IoT devices in your machines, you can really go for a predictive maintenance. By virtue of this, you can really control the cost, okay?
You mentioned that the shift that happened from FMCG to a company like Shell, that was very exciting and interesting for you, right? What was the rationale behind this shift? What were you thinking? And how smooth in terms of transition, career transition, was it for you?
See, it's something about personal to me as well. See, I always try to move into untreaded territories as well, right? Uncharted territories as well, because I typically get bored with the same work day in, day out. So when I was in Mondelez, I'll just give you this example so that I can relate with this. When I was in Mondelez, I was doing the corporate role. I was the head of supply chain of, logistics planning, so on and so forth. Then I said, okay, it's enough. Let me go and do a factory manager's role. Okay, I took that challenge. Totally different role altogether, because when you go into a factory and manage, it's a totally different role from the corporate. Typically, you join factory at the start of your career. But after spending 15, 18 years, you go back to a factory. So the challenges will be very different expectations. So I took that challenge. So that is one element which is in me. I love to take challenges. I challenge the status quo in myself as well. Like, why this, why not that? And that was one of the key drivers for me. I pondered over and thought through that, yes, I want to change from FMCG, and what best sector I can go into. Then definitely this energy sector, right? And such a powerful brand of Shell, and the kind of ambitions that our company is having in terms of laying the strategy of powering progress to zero net emissions by 2050. That was one of the key things which has really helped me to decide to get into Shell. And I'm so excited in the last 8 months that I have been here. I am handling the entire operations of, right from manufacturing to planning to distribution for Shell lubricants. And this last 8 months has given me so much of energy